We're now joined by Husker Online, Sean Callahan. Sean, good morning. Like I said, it had been a quiet week yesterday. Lancaster County Judge Ryan Post rules Nebraska has to disclose the metrics mutually agreed to in former coach Scott Frost's contract. Trev Albert says last night it was 6 wins and not backing into 6 wins. I guess, what was your take on all that happened yesterday and Trev's response to all this last night, Sean?
I mean, the whole delivery of everything, it's a headline. Yeah, there's no doubt a story of it all. But when you sit back and look at what the metrics are, if Scott Frost didn't make a bowl game and win 6 games, I mean, does that surprise anybody that he wasn't going to keep his job? I mean, I think it's a pretty baseline metric that was put down on paper. And I thought it was interesting that Trev actually didn't want to put it in writing, but Frost wanted something in writing because it affected his pay, because if he hit the quote metrics, his pay would have gone back up to the original number of what it was. But what it mattered? I mean, would 6 wins, have kept his job? I don't know. It's really hard to say what Trev's thought process was, and what it was going to take to bring Frost back if he was going to keep his job this season.
It's really surprising to me the amount of people that read it and say, "Oh, if he would have won 6, he would have kept his job." What world are we living in here? I mean,
yeah, I'll ask this question: in the history of college football, how many people have kept their job in Power 5 football for 5 years in a row without making a bowl game?
Right. Well,
probably none. Maybe.
Jake's like, I'll take that. None.
Yeah, I don't think any. Probably.
So I don't know why I didn't read this last night as okay. So if Frost would have won 6, he would have been safe. I mean, what am I missing here? I know
I don't know if he would have been safe.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't get that. I think if he would have lost, I mean, it depends what the 6 looks like. That's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we know that this was Trev was leaning this direction, and especially after Ireland. Right. And at that point, it was a matter of time, and it barely got past North Dakota. Then, I mean, now we know if Georgia Southern beat Nebraska, if North Dakota somehow would have won that game, he might have been done then. At that point.
He probably should have been done if that was the case at that point. Sean, I'm curious. So at the same time, how do you properly at this point with an interim head coach put out metrics for Mickey? Is it possible to do that or not?
Yeah, there's no metrics. I think it's a feel.
Yeah.
Number one, and they got to win some more games for him to keep the job. And ultimately, it depends on who else is in line. I mean, it's easy to say right now, we want Mickey or he's the guy, but we don't know on the other end who could Trev have in line for this job, or who could the search firm be working with behind the scenes that might have an interest in the job. Especially if Nebraska can pay, in the $7 to $9 million range for a really good candidate.
Why do you think Mickey has captured fans' imaginations as much as he has in such a short period?
I just think the way he deals with the team and the way he deals in front publicly with the media, he's just got a charisma and approach that connects people very well right now, and it excites people. And I saw it right away with Mickey at my St. Michael's Husker night. I've done hundreds of events in my career now over the years, and been around these events, and we had 450 people there, and he had not coached a game yet at Nebraska, and people were just blown away by Mickey Joseph that night. They said, one of my guys that works with me said, "Sean, this is the best event you've ever done," and it was because of Mickey. I mean, he just captivated the audience that night, and he hadn't even coached a game. He had been in Lincoln, Nebraska for a month or two at that point, and he just has a way about that of really, capturing the audience, and now in this case the team. And people seem to really like that, obviously.
What was his message that night?
I mean, he just was very open and very honest about things, about what they're looking for in players. And I mean, it felt like it. I said to myself, God, it feels like this guy is the head coach right now.
Oh boy.
And this was back in February when he was talking about recruiting and what they look for, and just some of the things that he addressed that night. He just had a sound to him like he was a head coach almost.
Sean, I think it's important in terms of evaluating him to see obvious growth as a head coach in games. So he's now been here for 4 games. Obviously, the first game, Oklahoma, was rough. That was the week after Frost had been fired, tough opponent. But have you seen yourself obvious growth in his coaching ability over the last 4 games?
I think the way they responded in the second half at Purdue, that was pretty good growth. Just the way they came out of the locker room and probably should have had the game tied, if not for the missed pass in the end zone there to Alante Brown. That was figuring out a way to win a game when your defense couldn't stop air really on Saturday. I mean, that's pretty remarkable. And the defense was down their 2 inside linebackers. I mean, those are their 2 main people on the field. And by the way, Trev Alberts did slip in last night, something about Nick Henrich that he's going to be missed. So was that Trev saying that Henrich is done for the year? We don't know that. We're not going to talk to Mickey until Monday or Tuesday of next week. But their situation at inside linebacker, not having those guys really affected what their defense overall, and it put them in a very tough spot on the road.
Trey Palmer leads the country in receiving yards, Sean. Trey Palmer leads the country in receiving yards. I know you were really high on him in the preseason. Is this what you expected?
I said all summer, and I think you were with me, and I said this a few times, that he'd get 1,000 yards. I really thought that
you did say that
he could be 1,000-yard guy in Whipple's offense. So he's gonna do that. But I don't think ever I thought in my career Nebraska would have a receiver that leads the country in receiving right now. And this late, I mean, we're going into the October 22nd weekend of college football. And he's leading the country in receiving. Yeah. And there's 131 teams that play FBS college football. So that's a really remarkable stat, considering this is not an offense that's putting up world-class numbers. So people know that he's getting the ball more often than not. And Jake, you're a Dolphins fan. I mean, that was a Tyreek Hill type game.
It was. It really was. Yeah, I mean, they chuck it deep and he's open. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, he's faster than everybody out there. So I'm curious, Sean, on that note, you play great defenses the rest of the season. Illinois, great defense. Michigan, great defense. Minnesota, pretty good. Wisconsin's not great this year. Iowa's good. Can you actually convert the deep ball against much better defenses? Is Trey that good they can keep going that route against better defenses?
It's going to be funny to see how these other teams play him. I mean, you might have a guy like 30 yards back before the snap. I mean, just somebody that's ridiculously far back to play over the top of him. But Whipple's smart and Thompson's smart, and teams do that. That might actually open up a lot more underneath for other guys, and that will be fun to watch. Like, will the attention he's going to draw now these final few weeks, will that open up more underneath for other receivers in this offense and other things like the running game? Will that free up the running game more if teams are going to overcompensate for the deep ball?
Well, yeah, you got to keep a safety back. That's one thing, right? I mean,
right. I mean, Nebraska's never had a guy that could go this. I mean, they've had guys that could run, Kenny Bell and other guys that could get deep, but there's no one I've ever seen do this.
Sean, what about the injury to Luke Reimer? Okay, so we think it's possible that Nick Henrich may not be back. That's one starting inside linebacker. What about Reimer? What about his health for the Illinois game?
Yeah, chest injury. The fact he traveled and they burned one of the 74 seats on him, that was, I thought, interesting. It told me that he was close, unless they were just playing gamesmanship, but they didn't dress him. So it wasn't like they put him out there in warm-ups. They didn't go full Bill Snyder, where Bill Snyder literally had injured quarterbacks go through warm-ups just to make the opponent think that their guy was going to play. Reimer traveled, though, was in street clothes. So hopefully now this will be 3 weeks in a row without football for him when you take away the bye and then this week and the week before. Hopefully that will get his chest injury up to speed.
Sean, in September, when Nebraska had their bye week, I mean, this entire fan base was excited to watch a bunch of games and say, hey, who could be the next coach in Nebraska? Now we're a month later. Do you get that vibe about Coach Watch still being big in terms of watching games in Nebraska's bye week or not?
Yeah, I think the shine's worn off a little bit on that because we don't really know where it's heading. We still have, Jake, a solid month
Yeah.
plus of this that we don't really know. And we're not going to know, unless it's Mickey Joseph, we're not going to know until after the games are over on Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, we're not going to know, but we can still play the game, right?
Yeah, people stop playing the game as much, Sean.
It doesn't seem like they are playing it as much. Why is that, Sean?
Oh,
the game meaning speculative games about who the next coach might be.
Yeah, and I got to jump here in a sec, guys, but it's just really hard to say. I mean, I think you play this game, this week-to-week game. Oh, he lost or he won. He's back up the board. And I don't think when you look at this decision, you should be saying, oh, because so-and-so lost to West Virginia, he's off the board.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Sean, always good stuff. Thanks for the time. We'll chat with you again next week.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Husker Online, Sean Callahan.